this. Great. Okay, well, welcome. We're going to be talking about a topic that really should concern all of us, because sometimes when we, and I'd love, there's a short group of us, so please interrupt me, ask questions. It becomes so much more interesting when I'm not just babbling here. So that'd be great. I like small groups because of that. Hi, Debbie. I'm glad you got on. So feel free to go ahead and share whatever you want as we move along. But I think this is a very important organ because it is the largest external organ we have. And it gives us a lot of issues. We just don't always realize that they have a lot to do with what's going on inside of us. So I thought maybe one of the things we should, let me go back to here. And when we're thinking, or when we're talking about, when we're talking about all these different kinds of skin issues, and I only listed some that are very common. I didn't list them all. And what I wrote at the bottom probably should be like the first thing we address should be on the top always. We're not doctors. We don't, unless we are. We don't diagnose because we're not doctors. We don't prescribe. We don't treat illnesses. And the reason that's important is because as we go through each of these skin issues, one of the things we want to remember is we can't be so strong on, this is, I don't know if it's rosacea, I don't know if it's eczema, I'm thinking maybe, it might be this, and we're not going to be caught up on that. The reason this explanation is here is just so that you can see how it is a reflection of something that's going on in the body. That's all this is here for. We're not going to make a big deal because we don't have to. We don't have to make a big deal about pointing out it specifically what diagnosis it is. Again, we're not doctors, and I don't need to know this to use Solle to help somebody. That's why it's the neatest thing. But it will help us to explain to people why they can use Solle. So that's the key behind all this. So as you think of, for example, as we look at each one of these real quick, think always, what questions can I ask people? Because, for example, let's start with acne. It's very stress and hormonal related. So, and the problem with that is when we get an adult that has acne, because usually we're used to kids having it. So we know it's hormonal. Kids are making their own decisions with food. So it's a bad choice of food as well. And I'm thinking of all that. But when we're thinking of acne, think of asking those questions. If it's an adult, does it come up? If it's a woman, does it come up when you're on your period? Does it come up on, when you're close to it? Is it happening because you're stressed? Do you realize that there's more of a flare-up when that happens? And the reason we're going to ask those questions is because then we're going to be able to link it with why they need Solle, why that's important for them. So always ask questions, because acne already tells me the body is trying to detox through the body, through the skin. It's trying to throw out all these things, and we want to help it, obviously, and we'll talk a little bit about how some of the products do that, but always ask questions so that you can show people this is why Solle will work, because since it is stress related, one of the neat things of adaptogens is they help you respond better to stress. So you won't have to worry about having this acne. Another thing is, think always when people have acne, what are they giving them? What is the doctor giving them? They're usually giving them antibiotics. They're usually giving them some cream that has antibiotics. I've had girls that come into 11, 12 years old and they're already giving them contraceptives because that's what they're using to heal that acne. So, and again, why? Because it's hormonal. They're giving them hormones. So girls that don't need contraceptives at that age are getting thrown this, and it is going to create such a huge imbalance in their bodies. So help them understand why it is, and then so that we can show them why Solle is so important. When you think of hives, always ask questions. What did you eat? What have you been exposed to in the environment? Were you cleaning? Were you with some type of detergent or something you haven't used before? Ask questions like, did you start a new cream? Were you given a type of medicine? Because when people have hives, the first thing they think of, and they're given, or we tell ourselves, and we go to the pharmacy and get right away, is what? Benadryl. right? We're thinking, okay, something to, you know, and if that doesn't work and we go to the doctor, we're going to get something stronger in the same realm. You know, we may even be facing cortisone, that we're going to be given something with some type of steroids if it gets really bad. So again, always ask, what happened? What did you eat? What did you touch? What did you do different? You know, did you have a fever maybe and you were given antibiotics, and now 1-2 weeks later you're having hives because now your body's trying to throw this out? If you ask questions, you will always know what the person, you'll always be able to help people understand why they need Solle. And we'll talk about the package in the packages that will help with this. When we're talking about ringworm, and I'm skipping this autoimmune illness because we're going to talk about it in a minute. But when we talk about ringworm, think parasites and think something that's present because the immune system is weak. Ringworm should never be a problem for us if our immune system is strong. So right there, my immune system is weak. So I need antioxidants. I need things to boost me. Again, we get very caught up, like we see it on Facebook all the time. Oh, what is this? And they put a picture of the skin issue and everyone's commenting all sorts of suggestions and thoughts, because if I don't know what it is, I don't know what to give. That's not true when it comes to Solle. We don't need to identify specifically what it is. Solle is going to work nonetheless. But help people understand why that's happening. It's a low immune system. So let's boost the immune system. Let's give probiotics, and we're going to be addressing this well. Warts is the same thing. We're talking about a virus that is affecting the system and creating this. And so again, what system in the body is low? The immune system. When we see white spots, and that's not the vitiligo, and please correct me if I am not saying that word right, but white spots are very similar to the dark spots people complain about, but they're white and they come and go. And those, and I know that in my practice, what I've seen throughout the years, it's always present when people are calcium deficient. Like if I give herbs that are high in calcium, if I'm thinking like Excel, or before when I just used herbs, anything that was high in calcium, those white spots would go away. So minerals are low in somebody who has the white spots coming up. And that's very common in kids. And you'll see it, parents will see it on their skin. And obviously I know in Hispanics, it's very common, and we have darker skin. And so the white spots are more common, and they go away the minute we bring minerals in the body. So we're already thinking any of our drinks, any and all of our drinks have minerals, so they're going to help there. When you think of dandruff, think of dry skin. So dandruff and dryness, which we're talking about here, we're thinking of minerals again missing, and dry. In Chinese medicine, anything dry in the skin or in the scalp has a lot to do with the water element, and water element is linked to kidneys. So people with dry skin, dry areas in the body will always have a deficiency in their kidneys. So you think immediately, okay, so I need more water. A lot of the times these people will tell us, I am drinking water, like a lot of water. Like they say 8 glasses, I do 10, I do 12. I really drink water. Some people will tell us that. When they don't, they obviously need it. But if they tell us that and they're having these issues, think of why water is important. I always try to teach people water. Really, the reason we should be drinking is because there used to be a time it had 60 minerals. That was when we would get it from running rivers, from just areas that had the minerals. Now we get bottled water. And in order for water to be bottled, they remove all the minerals. They only leave 2, which is potassium and sodium. So now you are drinking water, but the reasons why you should be drinking it to hydrate you, it isn't happening because you don't have the minerals. That's why you will find people that tell you, I'm in more pain when I started to drink water. Or I drink a lot of water, but nothing is happening. And that's why we don't have that problem with Solle, because if water is part of our drinks, if we're having our 4 drinks a day, and then we're having some extra water, we're good. So I don't have to worry about being dehydrated or whatever, but the reason is because all my drinks have minerals. So I'm going to have a good alkaline, a good pH in the body. I'm having a lot of things that are going to balance that. It used to be a time it was just water that did it because it had 60 minerals. Now we have to depend on other things. So when we're talking about dryness in skin, dandruff, think of that. what do we have to move away from? Don't think, gosh, my skin is dry. Where's the cream? Gosh, I have dandruff. Okay, let me put cream in here because, that's going to help me. You can do that, but remember that the root of the cause is there's not enough minerals in the water. People aren't drinking enough, and there's not enough minerals. So help people to understand that. And then there's something when it comes to skin that's very common. That is that rosacea. Please turn your mic on and tell me if that's not the way you say it. And eczema. So those two sometimes are very hard and confusing for people to identify. One of them is redness in the face. So, and it kind of stays only here on the face, which is the rosacea. Doctors say there's no cure for that. You may have it all your life, and it comes and goes. Something, brightens it up, and you have it on your face. Sometimes it goes, sometimes it comes. Eczema tends to be intense itching. The other one that's very similar is psoriasis, light itching. That's the difference between those two. If someone comes to you and is just desperate, I cannot stop itching, and the rash I'm having is filled with fluid, that's usually eczema. Psoriasis, the itching is not that brutal because now it's progressed. Now your body probably went through eczema and now it's, become a psoriasis. It's light itching, but now the immune system is fighting against you. So it looks like it's fighting against you. The immune system, no system ever harms you. So it's really not fighting against you. It thinks it's protecting you by attacking your skin. And so that's what it's doing. It's attacking it. And so now you have light itching, but it tends to be a dry situation. So there is no rash with fluid. So when it's drier, it's psoriasis. And so you're tending to think, okay, now I probably have an autoimmune condition here, unless I'm going to the doctor and knowing right away what it is. The concern with psoriasis is that, like you've heard me say a lot, when you have one autoimmune illness, you also run the risk of adding more autoimmune illnesses. Because once you get one autoimmune illness, the doctor gives you something to shut off your immune system, which creates other autoimmune illnesses. So when you have psoriasis, your concern is that you can have psoriatic, arthritis, which now is pain in joints along with the psoriasis. So now in all these joints, I'm having this pain that is brutal. And we've seen that question come up a lot on Facebook experiences. What do I do for this situation? And again, it's an autoimmune illness. It's a result of, I didn't take care of this first one the right way, and so now I have another one. Again, for these, the doctors say there's no cure for them. So we kind of want to understand what they are, but when I go to the next slide, we'll talk about why all these different things show up in the body. When we talk about herpes, comes and goes in some people. For some, it's always there. For others, they can control it. It all depends on your immune system. How good is it? How strong is it so that it can move this virus aside and not let it, proliferate and cause you the eruptions. So always, again, what are you thinking? You're thinking autoimmune illness. You're thinking immune system. I want to give the body something to keep it where it needs to be so it can keep that virus at bay. Asleep, I carry it, I have it, but I don't have to have it flare up. Because when it flares up, now I have to worry that it can be contagious to others. When you're dealing with funguses, always think systemic, always. When there is a fungus in the body, usually now you're fighting this virus or this fungus everywhere. It's in your bloodstream. And that's why it takes so long for people to address funguses. And sometimes people will ignore them. It'll start on one toe, for example, and, I'm just going to, and then it'll go to the next one and the next one and the next one, and then when it starts on the next foot, then it's when I really have to do something about this. Because by then, everything they've used from the store isn't working. Well, it's bloodborne. We're talking about something that's in the whole body now. And so now I have to address the body. I should always address the body as a whole. But I cannot just topically take care of this because it's in the blood. It's an imbalance that is causing this because it's showing in the skin, but it's something that I'm not addressing correctly as I should. So think blood. What can I do to help the body clean the blood? And we know that there are products in Solle that do that, like Vertizymes when I take it on an empty stomach. When you think of moles, in traditional Chinese medicine, they teach you that every area in your body is an energy pathway. And depending on where these moles are, we talk about them as beauty marks, we talk about them, but in traditional Chinese medicine, they teach wherever the moles are, and some of them can show up from birth, some of them can come later in life, it is connected to a pathway. It is on a pathway that is connected to various organs. So I'm not going to get big, right, on, well, where exactly is it? Could it be on the kidney pathway, or could it be, I mean, you can go into depth in this, but because I don't want to treat the body by organs, I'm just going to remember that moles indicate I have parts in my body inside that aren't working as they should. So I'm going to bring in adaptogens because they're going to know what to do. So think of that when you have someone that has a lot of moles or they're showing up more in the body. Now, those are different to dark spots. Dark spots, people call them a lot age spots, sunspots. You've heard them mentioned different ways. Sometimes people go out in the sun and they get them more. At a skin level, remember, it has a lot to do with antioxidants, whether you have enough or you don't. But in traditional Chinese medicine, and the reason that's good to know that it's low on antioxidants is because all my drinks in Solle have antioxidants. So I'm going to be helping dark spots and keeping them at bay that way too. But in traditional Chinese medicine, it has to do with the liver kidney issue. So that tells me right off I have to concentrate on the liver and kidney. And again, I'm not moving that off and just thinking, okay, what's good for the liver, what's good for the kidney, because even those organs are interconnected. So I need to look at the body as a whole. But dark spots, that's what they are. They are happening because there is a congestion in elimination organs, and that's what's going to happen. Now, why are they called age spots sometimes? Because they come with age as we get older. In 50s, 60s, wow, then you start really to see a lot of them. Why then? Because by then your liver, your kidneys, you've really overworked them, especially your liver. And your liver is very grateful. 80% of it can be fine, or it can continue to work without you having huge issues. But the sad thing is, once 80% of it is affected, then you get all sorts of things happening. So the liver is such an important organ. I have a very dear friend who is in the hospital now because she didn't take care of, she had signs that were telling her there were issues with the liver, and she ignored them. And so she ran herself down for years, and then recently more so, and ended up in the hospital with autoimmune hepatitis. So we have to be so careful about taking care of our liver, because her symptoms were so crazy when she got to the hospital that they could not even pinpoint what it was, because they were everywhere. She had symptoms that fit into so many illnesses. It was amazing. And she was there days before the doctors finally were able to identify what it was. And it made me think the liver is responsible, no joke, for over 500 functions in the body. So the symptoms can be so everywhere. So take care of your liver. But think, by the time I'm in my 50s, I've exhausted it so much that that's why the dark spots show up then. So think of that when we're thinking dark spots. Calluses and corns, can they be due only to footwear? Because you're wearing the wrong kind of shoes, because they're rubbing wrong, because as women we want to wear these crazy, cool Debbie, right? Long, high shoes and whatever. And I say Debbie because I know Debbie for like 30 years, and she was always in high heels, gorgeous shoes. But anyway, those things can cause calluses and corns in us. And so can they be because of footwear uncomfortable? Yes. Is it always because of that? No. And will you be able to know the difference? Yes. Because if they sit on an area where the shoe bothers you, you know it's the shoe. But if it's in a place where there's nothing bothering you, you know, it's like a callus because it's in the sole of my feet and there's really nothing caught, you know, why would I have one there? Then it's going to be an indication, again, depending on the meridian of where it sits, like your feet and reflexology reflect different organs. So do you want to go and be specific? If it sits in a certain area, what it is, get yourself a reflexology chart, pinpoint it, and now you know. So yes, you can be very specific with these things. In soul, we don't have to be, because I may want to know which is the organ that's affecting me more than the other, but in soul, I'm taking my 4 drinks, I'm covering everything I have to cover. The drinks will know, the adaptogens in the drinks will come into the body and will address what has to be addressed. So this sheet, this information is just there so we can take a look at, no matter which one of these things is going on, it's an indication that something is not working the way it should in the body. When skin problems are present, it is an indication that my 5th organ, my skin, has come into play because my colon, my liver, my kidneys, my lungs are not working the way they should. So these other organs, these are my organs of elimination. They help my body remove things that are toxic from it. So if my colon isn't working well, it's going to overburden my liver. My liver is going to get stagnant and overburdened. It's going to affect my kidneys. My kidneys are going to affect my lungs. When all of them are affected, my skin jumps in. Now my skin is going to try to eliminate, because guess what? Nothing else is working. When you understand that, what do I do for all these illnesses that are at the skin level? I activate my other organs. I worry about the colon. I start asking questions. So, how are you going to the bathroom? How are your bowel movements? Oh, no, I go fine. I don't have any problem going. Okay, what is that like for you? Ask more questions. I go fine doesn't mean anything. Ask, what exactly is going fine for you? Well, I go once a day. Okay, and now we know that's not fine. And now we can explain. You have to go once, 3 times a day. You have to go each time you eat. The ideal thing is I eat, 20 minutes later, I'm having a bowel movement. The ideal thing is they're abundant. They float, they're light, they're not dark, and they don't smell. You know, so I have to go into that. I have to explain, and they're thick because my colon is 2.5 inches in diameter. So they have to be long and thick. They have to be long because I should eliminate 6 inches of the colon before there's a cut, so that the rest of it can keep moving. So ask, because if a person says, yeah, no, that's not the way it's happening for me, then we have to work on helping that person make sure the colon is working correctly so that the skin has an outlet. Because one thing is just hives, but like we've had cases of people that have come to us. I mean, I remember I woke up one morning and had in my phone pictures of someone who my mom kept saying, should we show those on the webinar? And I was like, yeah, no, Mom. I woke up this morning and saw that picture and I wanted to die, because there are some cases where the skin tries to eliminate so brutally that it is scary. I mean, it was a picture of hands that somebody sent us, and it was just, you probably wouldn't know. You'd be scared. Like, I don't even want to touch that. But that's the beauty of the body, that if it doesn't work any other way, it's going to try to throw out all these pus-filled problems through the skin to get them out. So solution is I have to activate the colon. And yes, I can go through and activate liver, kidneys, lungs, but the culprit, the original one, is the colon. So let's concentrate on that one. Let's work on that one. Let's get this person to 3 bowel movements a day, and we're going to see results. Now, if the condition in the skin is hot and dry, think again Chinese medicine. What it teaches is if it's hot and dry, it means there's too much heat. What is too much heat? It's too much fire. How do you turn off fire? With water. So what element is off? The kidneys. So what do I have to do more? I have to bring in water. And now I know that it's not just water, it's water and minerals. So I need my soul drinks. That's when my skin is hot, it's dry, it's a kidney imbalance. If it's damp, so now my rashes have fluid. We talked about how some illnesses have. So now what? Now Chinese medicine says there's too much dampness. Again, there is a situation with the kidneys, but it's different now. It's not dry. It's not that I need it. It's that I have too much. So maybe my kidneys are overworking. Yeah, they are. So they're overworking. Now there's phlegm, there's pus, there's all this trying to come out. In Chinese medicine, it says when that happens, your stomach, your spleen, your lungs, your colon are not working the way they should. Now, you don't have to know this. You just have to remember that Solle is going to fix any I don't have to know. I can see it when the person comes to me, but I don't have to worry about, do you think that's dry? Do you have any other area that isn't? Yeah. Two opposite extremes. I don't have to worry about it with Solle because remember, adaptogens work on both sides of the imbalance. So if I did before, when I used any other herbal company, if I had to be very specific about, if this is too hot, let me give you cooling herbs. If this is too cool, let me give you hot herbs. I don't have to do that now. Now, how does this information help me though? Well, if you're too hot, if the condition is very hot, there's too much fire, do you want to tell that person to be careful with hot foods? Yes, you do. So that's one of the things you're going to suggest. Stay away from things that are hot, like spicy foods. Stay away from coffee because it's going to dry you up more. It's an astringent. It's a diuretic. It pulls liquid from you. So that's how that helps me because I can help. But you know what? Everyone should stay away from coffee. And everyone, well, not everyone should stay away from hot foods, but because some of them are good and made with, if you're using like hot peppers that are capsicum, they're very healthy, but sometimes that's not what they're using. They're using other things which are going to just rob more from them. So that's why that information is going to be good for you because you can think of things that they might need or they might have to stay away from. But remember with Solle, I don't need to know where the imbalance lies. I know that as I give the body these things, it's going to use them the way it should. Now, when I have those skin conditions, there are certain things you really want to suggest. You want to help people to understand you need cotton. You need to look at your labels in the back of your clothes and read. If it says polyester, you want to be staying away from that. Use cotton. And what color is cotton? That's the color most of our clothes should be when we're hassling or we're trying to take a hold of these skin conditions. So think white, because cotton's white, and think cotton, 100% cotton. So my underwear should be 100% cotton. Women, when they have rashes and they're battling all that right under the breast, there's going to be a lot of that issues and itching and everything. So then your bra shouldn't have any underwire, and my bra should be cotton. Do you know how hard it is to find that? Can I just tell you how hard it is to find cotton bras? But you have to have them because when you have these conditions, that's one of the things you have to do. You have to be able to have that type of material on your body. Be careful when I have these conditions, be careful with what you choose to put on your skin, even if it's not in the area where you have that rash. It goes into, the thing with skin is everything goes straight into the bloodstream, bypasses the liver. The liver doesn't protect you as much as when you eat something. The liver's right there to protect you from toxins. It doesn't always happen that way on a skin level. So be very careful with perfumes, creams. You don't want to intoxicate the body more because it's already having an issue eliminating. So try to keep away from all these other things that are going to overwhelm it. And think how you can start changing that. Like babies, when they're born, one of the things we're taught as first-time parents is, baby oil is very important because my child has such dry skin. Let me just put all this oil in. That's the worst thing we can do because the skin doesn't breathe with baby oil. So stay away from that. Teach mothers not to do that with their children or their babies. Always ask, what are you putting on them? What are you doing with them? Kids that have all these skin issues at a young age, ask. Were these kids that you bathe and all this stuff, that you put all sorts of perfume and cologne on? Baby smell is so good, you don't need to put anything on those babies. They just smell so good. So what can we do instead of that? Solflex AC. That's the cream every parent should have. That's the cream you put on babies. If you want something, that's what it is. And you can use essential oils with them. So as women, the creams we put on our face should have that, so we can avoid all these health, these imbalances in the skin we talked about. Avoid antiperspirants. You want the skin to breathe. You want it to eliminate. It needs to detox. If you put antiperspirant, you can't detox because it stops your skin. it actually creates this thick film, right? And you almost can't even take it off with soap because it's so thick. So imagine that's what you're doing. You're not letting the skin breathe. So be very careful with that. You know how I've talked about sometimes when we're talking about the lymphatic system, we've talked about using hot and cold water and interchange it. With skin conditions, think if they are hot conditions, you don't want hot water at all. You have to learn to bathe or shower with cold water. Hot water will make all this worse. That's a very hard thing for some people because boy, do they love their hot water. Dry skin brush is very important. So brushing my skin with a brush that's like a boar's head, or that is a natural bristle that I can actually, open up those pores is going to be important. Be very careful to not do it where there is pus filled. I don't want to open up those unnecessarily and then spread them and now it's worse. So I want to get areas in the skin, bottom of my feet, the biggest cells are there, the pores are there. So I want to activate it where I don't have those issues, but I want to dry brush the skin because I want to open it to eliminate through other areas. Sometimes people don't have that much of a problem in the back, so scrub the back. So just do it wherever you don't have the issue. If there is no liquid and it's just dry and you're literally wanting to scratch, use your brush to scratch. And remember, your brush is yours. It's like a toothbrush. You don't share that. And like we said, drink water, but make sure it has minerals. So make sure you're having Solle drinks. Every time I talk about enemas, I talk about how important it is to use. When I talk about skin issues, I talk about how important it is to use enemas. Because as the body begins to move everything out of the colon, sometimes we need the use of enemas. So learn how to do them. I remember my kids were very little and I always used for fevers and everything. I worked with their colon a lot when they were growing up and they were babies. And my little one, my youngest, couldn't even talk and he'd run behind the house holding his little butthole. No memas, no memas, he would call him, because he knew that when he got sick, he was getting an enema. And for kids, it was so easy because it was a little pump and, you had water, you put some garlic in it, you made a garlic tea, and then you actually pumped this water into the rectum and, they would hold the water and then they would expel it. And so that's what we do. But as adults, we have a bigger hot water bottle we use, or what do they call them? I think that's what they call them, hot water bottles. They don't sell them as enema bags, by the way, when you go to the store. But that's important to think about. You've heard me say a lot that autoimmune illnesses are a result of people dragging themselves and taking care of others and not themselves forever. Like people that have done 30 and 40 years of caretaking. All of a sudden have autoimmune illnesses. And when we talk about psoriasis, which is an autoimmune illness, we think of, well, if it's a 40 and 50-year-old, that's one of the reasons it's happening, because they've exhausted themselves so much that now this is happening. And that's fine if you're 30, 40 years old. But what happens when a kid has that issue? And how do I explain that? And that's why I put this here, because I wanted to keep in mind, or I wanted to help you all think, this new generation of parents that we have is a generation that has lived on fast food, on instant food, on what can I microwave, on where's that instant soup, on everything. I think people that work at Publix and all these supermarkets see what everyone buys. Like when I go through the grocery store, the girl says, "Wow, you have so much real food." And I always think that's so funny when they say that. But what does that mean? That everybody else is coming through with everything prepackaged. So that's the new generation. They live off of prepackaged, frozen, dead food. And they've learned that there's these little windows they can drive through and get food, fast food, and then they can eat it while they drive. And these are the kids or the parents that are deciding, oh, now let's have kids. So what's going to happen with those kids? What kind of children can they provide? And is it the child's fault? No, but the parents had this type of genetic composition that is going to only be passed on to children. So now we're having children that have an immune system that is shot because their parents never ate well. So they didn't pass on good, strong genes to these kids, to these babies. And not only that, but it's a generation that is so stressed. We've never have seen a generation as stressed as this one. So it's stress, it's bad eating, and I don't go to sleep because I don't. You know, now it used to be it was only we didn't go to sleep early. Now it's I don't go to sleep early. I have all the stress because I'm always connected. And now I have even environments where I am constantly 24/7 in a Wi-Fi environment. That is going to make me sick. And we're bringing up children in that environment. So yes, will autoimmune illnesses be more common in children? Yes. Now they have vaccines they give babies on the day they're born. You cannot leave, well, the doctor tells you you can't leave the hospital without it. I remember when my youngest was born, when my oldest was born, of course, he's 27 now, but when my oldest was born, there was no vaccine when you were newborn. But when my youngest was born, who's 22 now, the doctor gave me such a hard time to try to get him out of the hospital because I would not sign for that child to get the hepatitis vaccine. I mean, are you kidding me? You're going to give this child that? So kids are having to battle with parents who weren't strong enough, and so they didn't give them a good start in life. Very stressed, and now vaccines that they give me on day one. Yes, we are going to see a lot of more autoimmune illnesses in our generation. In this generation. So what does that say? That if there's ever been a generation that needs soul, it's this generation. We need to help people to understand that. So how do I use the Solflex AC cream? And this is the ratio, the dilution ratio that Jennifer has had available for us. If you've had questions on it before, if you've really looked at this and you've asked yourself, I know I look at it and I said, man, so why does the cream have less drops and essential oils than the roll-on? So that was one of my questions. And then the other question, why does a 2 ounce in cream, when I make it 4 ounces, why doesn't it, like a recipe, double up? Like if I did 20 drops to 25, why isn't it on the double amount, 4 ounces, that's on 2 ounces? Why isn't it 40 to 50? Why is it less? So Jennifer, one of the things she teaches is when it comes to creams, if you've ever had these questions, when it comes to essential oils, more is never going to be better. More is not better, so less will always work. But it's never going to be like a recipe that you double everything. The more you go bigger on amounts that you're preparing, the essential oils work differently. They have a different way to affect the body, so less actually works better. So if you've ever asked or wondered, that's why. And on creams, we use less drops than on roll-ons, because on roll-ons, we're usually working with a small area. We're putting a roll-on on the bottom of our feet and then rubbing them together, or we're putting them behind our earlobes, or we're putting them on a special point in the body, an axis, just a reflex point. And we're not just going to go, okay, it's all over my face and all over we don't do that. We do it just in certain areas. So I use a little bit more essential oils because of that. But with creams, we're usually thinking of getting a bigger area. And because I am, that's why I end up using less. So, and then of course, there's the explanation here of, for elderly, I use half of the dose that's here mentioned. So I thought this was really neat, but keep it in mind, because whenever you're dealing with any health issue, that's one of the things you, at a skin level, you definitely want to think about this. And again, our packets are here. I love what Solle did just recently, that they gave us a video on package number 3. I think that's amazing. I love the packages because you save extra. So on package number 3, if I were to buy these products each separately, they're $13.60 more. If I do the other ones, they're $15.60 more. The reason I put the day spa package here is because I wanted you to remember the importance of Solle Megas when you have skin issues. Anytime that you're treating, we're not treating anything because we're not doctors. Anytime you're addressing a skin issue where there is so much going on in the skin that you sometimes don't even know if you're going to touch it or not, and how and what you're going to do to it. One of the things that's so important is to also open up the omegas. And that's why I know we have it in package number 3. We don't have it in 7, but even extra omegas, like on the day spa package, I'm going to need, because I want to literally open the omega, mix it in my Solflex AC cream with my oils, with my essential oils, because that's another thing that's going to help heal immensely the skin, the omegas directly on. So make it part of the mixture that you're making. And the reason I have Soul Thrive here is Soul Thrive has so many awesome, important things. But as I was looking up information on, and I was reading on traditional Chinese medicine, because I always am, and I'm going to take a look at your questions in a minute, or your comments. I came across this study, and I put it here so you guys can take a look at it, because there is a plant, a whole plant, that Chinese medicine considers a anti-vitiligo. Is that the right way to say that, guys, ladies?
I've heard it said vitiligo.
Vitiligo. Okay, see, now she corrects me. The whole thing.
I could be wrong, because I was waiting for somebody more knowledgeable to comment, but that's what I've heard. Vitiligo. Okay.
So they consider it an anti-vitiligo, whatever herb. So, and which is that one? Ginkgo biloba. And where do we have a lot of that plant? Like, we have an equivalent of a whole bottle of ginkgo biloba. We have it in Thrive. So this is a clinical study where ginkgo biloba alone was given to people. And every person, go on this study and read on it. Every patient in that study who participated in that study, the progression of this autoimmune illness stopped. And why is that important? Because one of the biggest things with this skin autoimmune illness is the way it just keeps spreading. So if I can have something that will stop it, then maybe I can let the body, okay, now it has what it needs. And now as I continue to give the body what it needs, the body can probably start to heal on the regression of the way that has affected the skin and has made it lose its pigmentation. So think of that, because I thought this was such amazing information. And then I thought, why do we never hear of this? Why is it that information like this, they're not doing commercials on it on TV, right? But if it's a medicine, there's commercials on it all the time, so that you can go to your doctor and tell them, that's what I want. So sadly, the medical profession, when it comes to medication, it has become a sort of business. And so we can't trust it that much anymore. But how good and what good news it is to know that there are whole plants like ginkgo that I can now use, and it'll come into the body and it'll do this amazing thing with an autoimmune illness. So it's up to us to kind of share this information with others. And as we do it, especially with skin conditions, remember, when there's a skin condition, we're talking about 4 huge organs in the body already affected. Huge. The liver, the kidneys, the lungs, the colon. So be patient. Help people to be patient, because when people start on a program, there will be a lot of times when they forget. They forget that it took them years to get there, or in the case of kids, the parents lived 20 years with bad eating habits because they grew up with bad eating habits and continue with them. So with kids, we're like, okay, but why? Why is a kid having it? Well, because the parent had 20 years of bad eating habits. So now, yeah, I know it was your fault as a parent. So now just be patient as your child has to suffer this consequence, but you can help him. Let's just activate and help nurture all these organs, but please be patient. We have to teach people, be patient, because it took the body a long time, and the body patiently took all that from you. It took all the bad eating habits, all the bad food you gave it. It tried to do the best it could until it couldn't anymore. So be patient, understand that the body is intelligent. It knows what to do, but it will take time to heal. And so we've heard this a lot, 3 months at the very minimum, because there are cells that renew themselves in 3 months. Listen, there are other parts of the body that take much longer than 6 months, 9 months. Some take 12 months. So help people to be patient, because also every constitution is different. So if I have someone who is genetically strong, then they will heal much quicker. But I may have somebody else with a weaker constitution that it takes them longer. So help people to understand that it's our turn or their turn to be patient. Don't get exasperated. You're doing the right thing. You know, people just need to be reminded, and that's why it's so important to follow up on our clients. They need to be reminded that whatever they're doing, it's going to help, but they need to be patient. Okay, so I have to go, says Tanya and Debbie. So glad you mentioned Spa Package and Thrive. And that's what I wanted to share with you ladies today. I think we only have ladies and gents, because we'll have other people listening. But tell me, what have I not covered, or what have you come across that that you find is challenging as you share soul and you have people that have skin issues? Is there anything that wasn't clear or that you feel you want to touch a little bit more on? This is your turn.
Lydia, I have someone that has hives. She's breaking out in hives every day. And it's she's been to the doctor. They can't figure out if it's a certain food or what is causing it. I think some of it is a mental thing, because she has some family issues and she's saying she's allergic to her husband. And I think it's coming out in her skin like that. But when it comes to hives like that, would you do the drinks like every day also? Or would you just start one at a time to see how that goes?
I would start all the drinks. I would at the very minimum do all the drinks. In conditions of the skin, I'm probably always going to start with the package number 7. And I'm going to add the cream and make sure that the person has topically something. The reason I'm going to do that is because, especially with hives, the colon isn't working the way it should. And because it has an emotional level, which is very true, like you said, how awesome that we have soul, because soul will address it.
Yeah.
And as we do the oils, the essential oils, which we will use on every skin condition, the reason we need the oils is because we are going to have a lot of emotional reasons why this is happening to people. Yeah, that would be already an indication, you know, get away from me, my skin, whatever. Yeah, that would be what you said about her would definitely skin issue. That's pretty bad. So yeah, I would do the package number 7, or if I do 6 because it has, 3 because it has the omegas, I would definitely do the detoxing in there anyway. I'd make sure she has good vibrations and fast track somehow.
Okay.
We're very cautious sometimes, and I'm glad you said, should it be 1 drink, should it be 4? We're very cautious sometimes about, should I start with 1? Do I want to do this? Remember, you start with all 4, and now the body has a variety of things, and it'll know what to do with them. We don't know what to do with them, but the body knows. So we just have to get
it was just with hives, there's something causing it besides emotional, so I didn't know if there would be something in there that could make it a little worse. But it may, when she's trying to clear it out, get worse before it gets better.
That's it. You said it perfectly. I was going to say, yes, it will get worse. If the doctor has given a person with skin issues already cortisone or any type of blocking of the immune system, doctors are beginning to be a little bit better about not giving steroids. But when things are very brutal, they're still giving steroids. And so when you get off of those screens with steroids, there is always going to be a reaction. And it will always be worse before better. And that's good to tell people. We're going to stay in touch, because when this starts getting worse, you want to be there to help. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, if you have nothing else, the rest of you have, hi, Mignon. If you have nothing else to say or share with us, I am. Hi, Mom.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead. Hi.
So my mother has this, I'm not sure if it's a fungus or what it is that keeps coming out on her foot. And she's been on the products, sold products for a while. She has admitted to me that she will sometimes forget to take her stuff. So I don't know really how consistent she is, but anyway, she's tried the AC cream, she's tried the essential oils, she's taken omegas, she's drank all of the 4 drinks. She's done the cleanse before. I don't know if she was doing it correctly, because I've learned a lot about the cleanse since, time has passed. So I think in the past we weren't, didn't know as much, weren't doing it exactly right. But anyway, I'm wondering if that's part of her problem, that she needs to do the cleanse again, why that's not healing, because even the cream from the doctor isn't helping. So
and it's not going to. By the time a cream isn't working, and remember, think age. So we're talking about someone that is older.
65, but don't tell her I told you.
Don't show her the video, right? So we're talking about a 65-year-old who is battling something that has probably taken a while to be created. It's so much toxicity in the body, and now it's affecting the skin. So we know all the other 4 organs are affected. So this is not just a 14-day cleanse every change of season. I need that cleanse constantly. At the very least, I need to have that cleanse all the time, and I need the 4 drinks. So again, like you said, you don't know. And a lot of people at that age are just all about, because this is the generation that they grew up addressing. All of us come from that generation, addressing everything by symptoms. And so that's the tendency. It's on my skin, where's the cream? It's on my skin, where's the thing I'm going to soak it in? And how am I going to burn the whatever, so the solution has always been by symptoms. And that's the mistake with that I've thrown the wrong things at the body, and I've given it more medication, which has intoxicated it more. So now I have to really stay on a detox. So I'd stay on package number 7. Like I would stay on package number 7 all the time. See, when I hear you say she's taking omega, she's trying to do it by symptoms, by just the situation. And you cannot, when it's a skin condition, you cannot do the body that way, because by then there's too much affected. I need all the 4 drinks. I need a detox till this thing gets better. And it's only going to get worse. That fungus will spread everywhere. It will, because it's systemic. A fungus is already in the bloodstream. So you need to aggressively address it. And the body knows how to do it. All I have to do is give it the products continuously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And I see some of you going like this and nodding. Speak up. Go ahead.
No, my mom is doing the same thing to me, and it's not about skin, but she's having a respiratory thing, and she's like, "Well, I guess I'll just take this a few more days till I get better." I'm like, "No, Mom, you need to keep taking it. Like it's like you're eating really good every day." She's like, "Oh, I guess so," but then she says, "I'll probably take it a few more days till I feel better." I'm like, I said, you're being reactive. You're being reactive, not proactive. And she'll say, "Oh, I guess you're right." But she keeps reverting back to that thought pattern of reactive. So, yes.
We've grown up that way. That's why. It's a hard thing to get away from.
Yeah.
Really
yeah.
hard.
And she's, oh boy. Yeah. Thank you, Lydia. I really enjoyed your webinar.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if there's no more comments or anything else, I am going to, hi, Debbie. I see you again. Debbie, did you want to share something?
No, I just really wanted to say it's so important, especially what you were telling. I think it was Rachel about her mom. With some people, they just think a cleanse 2 weeks is done. Why isn't it any better? And I had a really great experience today with my mother-in-law, one of my mothers-in-law. I have two, and she was shocked just because she kind of goes off and on things off and on. And now she has some problems that she really wanted to get addressed. And I just told her, I said, you got to take all 4 drinks and just do it. And she was at a doctor's appointment today, and one of her major problems is a blood pressure issue. And her blood pressure went down 16 points. My sister had her A1C go down 7 points just by using the 4 drinks. If she were to do the whole package, either 3 or 7, because that sister has vitiligo, and that is how you say it, vitiligo, and rosacea, but you said it right. But anyway, if she were to be consistent with those things and just stay on it, people forget that it took you years to develop that whole condition. It's not one little symptom that you develop. It's something that's affected your whole body for a very, very long time. And as smart as our body is, and as wonderful as the Solle products are, because adaptogens are smart, they're not very fast in something that has been attacking and weakening the body and its organs for all of those years. They are powerful, but you have to give them time. Yep. And so, yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought up the Thrive and the ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo biloba by itself is like a 3-week conversation. And we could do 5 webinars a day on it for 3 weeks and not cover everything. And we could talk about the liver forever and a day. But yeah, you covered everything beautifully, as always. So proud of you. Love you so much.
Okay, Debbie, thanks. Okay, so good night. Have a great night. And thank you for coming. And I will have this recorded. So if you want it, just let me know. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.